I spoke to the owner, and the owner wants me to address all of the issues. So I'm going to be replacing the filter caps, these other questionable looking caps in the power supply protection circuit. I'm also going to check out what type of transistors those are. May replace those. I'm waiting for the filter caps to come in, so I'm going to film this in a couple of different segments. I'm going to go ahead and focus on the noisy transistor in the right channel today, or in this segment, and then the next segment, once the capacitors come in, I'll do that, and I'll probably do the lamp. I may do that in this segment as well. But what I did is I pulled the schematic, and I'm going to operate under the assumption that the noise in the right channel is caused by one of the drivers, one of the driver transistors. Right, so I pulled this, and I'm looking at transistors TR 501 through 512 is kind of where I'm focusing right now. I pulled the transistor types, and of the transistors that are on the amp board or in this preamp section, there are some known bad transistors. 2SC458s are known to go bad, and they're known to go noisy. So I think what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm going to replace 507 and 508 because those are 2SC458s. I'm going to replace them with some 2SC1845s. I'm going to do that first, and this board is pretty easy to get to. The bottom just comes off, and I can pop those out and pop new ones in. And then I want to test it and see if that took care of the sound issue. If not, I'm going to move on to maybe 501 through 504, and I have to look at the 505 and 506, and I'll have to look up a modern kind of equivalent or substitution for the 2SC1571 if I'm going to replace those. But I'll be surprised if I don't resolve that noise issue in the right channel by replacing these 2SC458s. So anyway, that's my approach. That's what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to flip this over, take the bottom off, pop those transistors out, put the new ones in, and then I'll come back and we will see where we're at. All right, before I replace these, I want to show you where they're at. It took me a second to find them. So 507 and 508 are actually, I don't know if you can see this, but there are these little tiny clips, metal clips down here on this heatsink, and they're tucked in underneath these clips. So I have to desolder them from the bottom and then pull them out. I think maybe these clips they just have little posts in the back, so I'll pop those off. So just wanted to point that out if you are going to have to get into one of these and change those. One more note, and I filmed these for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like to keep track of what I do with these, and not every second of video makes it into the final product, but that I release on YouTube. But this has evidence of work being performed in here before. So here's 507 and 508. You can see where there are some burn marks on the board. You can see where there are some blobs of solder here and there. So it looks to me like most likely someone's been in here before and has done some work. There's another pretty ugly solder joint there. So I'm probably going to touch some of those up as I'm working on this board. So just wanted to point that out. So I'll kind of speed through the next little segment while I replace these. Had two traces that just came right off of that board, and my desoldering tool is not set very high, so the two traces that popped off are where it looks as though someone has done some work on this board before. So I'm going to have to create a couple of little bridges here. Right, I'm going to have to take some wire and create a couple of little solder bridges, yeah, to reattach those spots. So this is going to take me a little bit longer than I thought, but so what I'm going to do, just to take you through it, is, as I clip wires off of capacitors and things like that, I always keep the little pieces of wire. The way I do this is I scrape off a little bit of the green, right? So the green protective coating with a razor blade. Got to be careful when you do this. Make that nice and shiny. And then I'll do it on this side as well. And then basically I'll cut this wire. I'll wrap it a little bit around each one of these posts when I install the new transistor. And then I'll solder the wire onto the leads or onto the traces, right? Because I broke those. And these are fine. The ones that did not appear to have been worked on before were fine. Those two were bad. So that's what I'll be doing in the next segment. All right, created some little wire bridges here. Connect those posts to the traces. Haven't gone through and cleaned any of this up yet. I want to make sure this is good and turn it on and see if we still have our noise. There's actually, I saw some more spots where I suspect someone did some more work on this. A couple of more solder blobs here and there that look suspect, I guess. Alright, so let me connect these speakers. This is going to my dim bulb tester. And power this on and see what happens. I'll turn off my fan over here. I want to see if I get that noise. You may hear one of my dogs whining. They're patrolling the garage right now. But they usually want my attention or need something from me whenever I start to record something. So, all right, so this is on FM, balance all the way down. Whoa, what was that? That was loud. No, that wasn't the problem. But I want to make sure I get noise. I think maybe what we're hearing there are these filter caps. Now before, okay, so there's some noise. I'm thinking maybe that's coming from these filter caps. Man, these things are super bulged. Now they're supposed to be coming this afternoon, as a matter of fact. But that sounds different than what it sounded like before. So I'm kind of curious as to what. And that's. Ooh, that sounds bad. Yeah, that sounds horrible. I'm going to mark and pull these filter caps while I'm waiting for the replacements to come in. And what I want to see is what these are testing at. I'm marking those because there's going to be some time between right now and the time that I receive the new ones. So Anyway, what I'm going to do next is pop those out and see what they measure. Well, I don't know if I've seen capacitors quite this bad. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going to move this close to the mic. I don't know if you can hear that thud. Yeah, I mean, these are dried up, bloated. Man, those are in bad shape. Let's see what they test at. Let's see, can you see that? So these are supposed to be 4700 35 volt caps. Oh wow, it's still going. 3669. So that's a little undervalued. And I would suspect the same of this one. Gosh, you can see like not measured. You can't even measure it on this one. Make sure I got a good connection there. 2338. Wow. Bulged on the top and bottom. That one you can really hear. Man, those are bad. All right, so new cap should be here hopefully in the next couple hours. We can look at this light, I guess, next while I'm waiting for that. So the plastic is broken off. It's in two different pieces. I'm pretty sure I have a bulb for this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it. Actually, I think I have some pre-wired leads. I'm just going to attach a new bulb to that. Just remove the old one, attach a new bulb, and that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Lamp has been replaced. I've reattached this using some glue. It's not really sticking though. There's like an oily film or something on this. I think maybe this plastic is starting to kind of disintegrate, so it's not really holding that into position very well. So I may have to change how I attach that, but I don't know, maybe it'll be okay. I might need to touch that up with a little more glue. Bulb has been installed. I turned it on even with the filter caps out. I can still turn it on and verify that it was working. Yep, so that's working good. For that. Coming in, being installed, and then testing. Quick edit, I do have a pointer dial replacement, so I'm going to work on doing that. The way you do it on these is remove a couple screws. You have to bend this little metal tab back a little bit, pop the new one in. I'm going to run the new wires to spots over there and then make sure it is working. So I'm going to work on that next. Bulbs are in. The filter caps came in. Those have been installed. I haven't done any of the other caps in the power supply yet. I want to see what happens with these new filter caps in, because I want to see how much other kind of digging I need to do on this on this receiver. So let's put this to FM. Speakers are connected. Turn this on. There's still that pop. So, but, ooh. So, all right, don't want to play too much of that and get a copyright ding. I don't have an antenna hooked up, so I thought I heard some kind of noise issue, but I think it was the station, the reception of the station. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I do have some other caps I'm going to pop out. I don't like that pop noise. That's not at all good. So this, the power supply, the protection circuit needs some more work. So I will go on to replacing these two caps, checking all the solder joints, make sure they look good, and I'll let you know what I find. I need to explain a couple of things here with what I did. I pulled, so I showed you two caps that look suspect. This cap here, shrinking outer wrap, and this cap here. So I pulled this cap out. This cap is toast, shorted, not even recognized as a component. So that's been replaced. This cap I want to replace, however, this cap does not have negative or positive polarity markings, and the service manual is so blurry, and it's of such poor quality that I cannot determine the negative or the positive post on this one. Now, when I pull this out and test it, it actually tests good. The ESR is a little high, but it was like an ESR of 2, and the ESR on the brand new one was like 1.6 or something like that. So I'm not really that concerned with pulling that one for right now. Now I can turn this on and have, absolutely no change, and then we're back to the drawing board. But I'm comfortable leaving that in there for now. But this one was toast. So I think what's happening is charge up. Capacitors charge. Sometimes you hear a pop when they charge up. Well, with that capacitor being bad, I think it's just going crazy. So we're gonna test this out though and see. Make sure everything's down. Let's turn this on and cross our fingers. Hey, there's no pop. And there's the relay click after about 6 seconds. And I have sound. So that is most awesome. I'm just trying to get another station here. All right. Yeah, sounds good. I want to see about this. This is making that noise. So let's put a little tiny bit of lithium grease on that rail and see if that quiets that squeak down. Just a little bit here. I don't know if that's what's squeaking or not, but let's see what happens. Oh, maybe it's this over here. Well, at least I got just a little tiny bit of grease on that lip there. I think maybe just a little tiny bit of. I'm putting like barely any real butter on that, and that fixed it. Definitely don't want a ton of oil on the inside of this. But that fixed the squeak. Alright, so to recap. Oh, and I did replace those 2 transistors, and now that distant rumbling noise is gone. Now that also could have been from the capacitors. I mean, changing those was really easy. I still kind of suspect, since it was only on one channel, right? So kind of the basic, one of the basic like tenets of troubleshooting, at least here's how I view it. If whatever the noise is coming from both channels, probably the power supply, most likely the power supply. If the sound is coming from one channel, probably not the power supply. It's either the preamp or the tone control or the amp section, something like that, right? Makes sense. If it's power, it's going to both channels, right? It's gonna present itself as noise on both channels. If it's not power and it's on one of the channels, left or right, then you'll only hear it on one channel or the other. So I still think that it was probably one of those, or it was probably the right old transistor. So, because it's a known noisy transistor. So I'm happy that, and I'm pretty satisfied. This is done. Lamp's replaced. You've seen everything else that I've replaced on it. So I'm going to call this one good. I'm going to button it back up, kind of do a cleaning. Now as a kind of a general service, I will set DC offset and bias on this if it can be adjusted on this one. I won't do it on camera unless there's something special that pops up as a result, like it doesn't bias and I have to go in and troubleshoot something else. So if this is where I end the video, then DC offset and bias were adjustable and they're okay. So as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel. I've got a lot of pretty interesting projects coming up, so stay tuned. Tons coming your way.